And I will be speaking with the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, Raphael Tuju, in just a moment. I actually understand we have him. He's joining us live from Karen. Mr. Secretary General, thank you for making time for a checkpoint. A good evening to you. I don't know if you managed to hear that clip we just played a few moments ago. We've heard the Leader of Majority in the National Assembly, Aidan Duale, say that members of Parliament are being dishonest and that they have failed Kenyans on this VAT on petroleum products because they could have done more before. Do you agree?
With Duale, and we talked with him in the course of this afternoon, and that is the truth. The fact of the matter is that the buck stops with Parliament. Parliament prepared the budget. They were involved in the preparation of the budget. They made provisions for various things, including money going to counties, money for CDF was even increased by Parliament in this financial year. That money has to come from somewhere. And if we're going to have a deficit of about 70 million, we have to know where that money is coming from. So the fact that it went through 3 readings and therefore it has to become law is dishonest, is disingenuous. The buck does not stop with the president. The buck stops with Parliament.
SG, there are those looking at the president with being the man now who can do something to alleviate the suffering taxpayers are feeling because this tax is now in effect. There's a bill we understand before him, that finance bill. So are you saying you would not advise the president to assent to this law?
Well, I think Kenyans have to be honest with each other. I think the kind of politics that people play with this sort of thing in funerals is not helpful at all. This tax was supposed to be there. It was supposed to be there in 2013, postponed to 2016, postponed to take effect from 1st of September this year. Everybody knows that it has to take effect at one time. It's like the doctor says that you have to take this injection. A point comes that you have to take it, and you can decide which part of the body you feel should receive the injection, but sure, we must receive the injection to get a cure.
So the president, we should not expect for him to sign this into law, is what you're saying in essence?
You know, the thing is that the president's role is constitutional. It also has to be legal. And the president should not be put in a position that is being asked to cheat Kenyans, that the finance bill as presented from Parliament, not balancing, not showing how the deficit is going to be paid for, is something that the president should be asked to do. I think the buck stops with the Parliament first. I know that there's a problem that once the bill has gone through a 3rd reading, there's no provision by which it can go back to Parliament unless the president gives a memo to Parliament. But what is most important is that I think this discussion is healthy. People sometimes are very casual with dealing with the budgetary issues. They don't realize the full effect of it. But one of the things is that if we don't have a way of paying for this deficit, it's going to affect our currency. Our currency is very strong at the moment. Actually, against the US dollar, it is the 2nd strongest currency in the whole world. The 2nd strongest. So those are positive things. We don't want to start affecting those because we don't have a balanced budget. Now, if we don't have a balanced budget, we'll have to do borrowing, which could result in the shilling actually falling by anything up to 20%. When that happens, Kenyans will end up paying more for fuel than they're paying at the moment.
So let me put this to you. You maintain the buck stops with Parliament. There are those who argue it stops with the president. At the end of the day, this law came into place first time 2013. It has been postponed twice. The Parliament, as we speak, majority of the members are Jubilee. The executive, the president, is from the Jubilee Party. Don't you think that this exposes the clueless nature in the executive, in Jubilee, to deal with this matter, that we keep postponing a problem?
Well, I think there were good reasons why the postponement was made. And that
An
I must
election
say
was the
that,
first reason,
when
sir.
you talk with Jubilee, well, I can say I don't want to comment on that because I was not involved at that particular moment in time, but I can tell you that we've been talking to a lot of our members who did not fully understand the consequence of the vote that they made on this particular matter, and they're being very understanding about it. They realize that the mistake was made, and this mistake has to be corrected somehow. I mean, the budget has to balance. I mean, the financial bill has to make provisions of where that money is going to come from. I mean, the president does not have an ATM machine, and even an ATM machine, you have to feed some money there.
Bottom line, Bwana CS, you sit in the cabinet because of your position as SG in the party, so that you can keep appraised the politicians what's going on in cabinet. So yourself as well, in that capacity, did you not drop the ball to ensure that all these years things were done to ensure we don't get to this position?
Quite honestly, I did not anticipate it. It was a surprise to us that this came about. I mean, it was one of those things which were done the last minute, 3 months after the budget had been passed. There
Sorry,
were no
what was a surprise, sir? What was a surprise?
The surprise is that Parliament had known all along that this tax was going to take effect from 1st of September. So for them to wait until the last minute and then somebody brings the bill and it looks as if it is a very popular bill, it was very difficult for the members of Parliament to be seen to be supporting a bill which is not popular with the members of the public. And of course, any tax is not popular with members of the public. And of course, we know that the members of the public are overburdened with taxation, because the truth of the matter, Sophia, is that in this country, out of a workforce of about 20 million people, only 3.2 million are in formal employment and actually pay payee. So these 3.2 million are already overburdened. But, you know, it's one of those things which happened, and it has to be corrected.
And what I hear you say is
and
that Kenyans will have to...
we have a technical committee of Parliament.
Right. Go ahead.
No, one of the things, of course, we have a technical committee from Treasury and a technical committee from Parliament which is discussing this. We have to be responsible. We have to face the realities. And the truth of the matter is that this is not the responsibility of the President first and foremost. It is the responsibility of the Parliament to present a balanced budget. And when the financial bill goes to the President, it should show where the money is going to come from. If it's going to come from borrowing, that has to go through Parliament as well.
It sounds like you're preparing the country for the
borrowing is not a good proposition.
All right. Sounds like you're preparing the country for, you know, a president who will not send to this. But finally, on this issue, isn't the Jubilee government failing in as far as fiscal discipline? Because on one hand, our borrowing is off the roof as a country. Experts have argued we simply do not have any more legroom to borrow at all. On the other hand, we're talking about taxation, and other analysts and experts will say you can never tax a country into prosperity, as we are seeing in this instance, arguments being made in that front. So finally, the question is, why don't we hear proposals about cutting down on expenditure? Why don't we hear about proposals about bringing down the wage bill? In fact, the president, on the other hand, had more officers being brought into government, the CASs, worsening the wage bill. So isn't Jubilee being dishonest with how it's handling our money?
Well, I think one of the things that we should do is to separate the two in some respect. I mean, taxation is going to be there whether we have debt or not. Debt is a different matter and is essentially in many ways a different topic. The money which we require, the deficit which we have, is for recurrent expenditure. And true, I agree with you, we have to deal with issues of corruption so that we don't have so much wastage of public resources. And you know that this president, more than any other president in the last 50 years, is facing the issue of corruption head on. And he's even losing friends in the process. And we must say thank you to Kenyans who are supporting him, because all indications say that Kenyans are supporting that fight against corruption, apart from a few people who try to politicize it.